Okay.
All right, very good. Hello, everyone. This is Greg Garfin from the University of Arizona, and I want to welcome everyone to the second of a series of webinars about border region, climate, and environment and resource management issues. And this webinar series is funded by a grant to the University of Arizona from the NOAA Climate Program Office. And we've been very fortunate to have good collaboration with some colleagues from CIBNOR in Guaymas, and also with CICESE in La Paz, and also Ensenada, and also the Desert Landscape Conservation Cooperative. And today we're very fortunate to have Tereza Cavazos from CICESE and Jeremey Mikrut from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation and also the Desert Landscape Conservation Cooperative. And they'll be talking about some initiatives related to research and monitoring and outreach with different managers in our region. And we plan to give each of them about 20 minutes to speak, and following each of their talks, we'll end with question and answer. And if it's necessary, depending upon who else joins us, at the end of each talk, we may do a brief translation into Spanish. And English, yeah, vice versa. Thank you. And if you have any questions or comments, there's a chat box that you can use on the screen, or you can use the hand symbol to get our attention. And we'll be monitoring the questions as they come in. And as Adrian, who I am forever grateful to, mentioned, we're recording the webinar, and we will send out an email letting you know where we will post the recording. So thank you very much. And
another thing I would like to let you know is that we are producing also a newsletter, Cross-Border Climate Adaptation Without Boundaries, and we would like you to take a look on this newsletter and let us know about what you think, and also what you think about the webinar series. In the near future, we might ask you some questions to increase the quality of webinars, and also to know a little bit about your perceptions about the issues that we present here. So thank you, and let's start with Tereza Cavazos and her presentation. Okay, Tereza, you are in now.
Okay, to open the presentation. Good afternoon. I want to thank Adrian and Greg for this opportunity to talk about REDESClim in this international forum. The Network on Hydrometeorological and Climatic-related Disasters, REDESClim, is a Mexican research network that was formed last year under the sponsorship of CONACYT, which is National Science and Technology Council. REDESClim has 53 members, and 10 of them are part of the academic technical committee, and I'm currently chair of REDESClim. The other members of the technical committee are from CICESE, Cooperative, INTA, SMN, Centro de Ciencias de la Atmósfera from the National University, INTA, and el Colegio de la Frontera Norte. There are three natural hazards associated with disasters: hydrometeorological and climatic, geologic, and ecological. And REDESClim is particularly interested in the first type, which includes hurricanes, droughts, frost, floods, landslides, climate change, etc. The reason for our interest is because more than 5% of natural-related disasters in Mexico and also in the water associated with hydrometeorological phenomena. For example, 76% of global disasters in 1980-2003 were associated to hydrometeorological and climatic phenomena. And in Mexico, 83% of the disasters were of this type. In particular, those associated to hurricanes, droughts, floods, and frost. In this figure, I show the economic impact of hydroclimatic-related disasters in Mexico in millions of dollars for the 1980-2005 period, and also for the 1980-2011. We can see in the last 5 years, there has been a decrease in the damages related to these disasters. In particular, hurricanes, for example, increased from $1,200 million in 1980-2005 to almost $20 billion in 1980-2011. So these are huge impacts in Mexican society and the environment. And in particular, the impact of hurricanes and floods in the last 5 years are partially linked to two. In October 2007, there were the huge floods in Tabasco, in southeastern Mexico. And in June 2010, the passage of Hurricane Alex devastated large areas of northeastern Mexico, including the largest city in this region, which is Monterrey. These disasters have caused severe restrictions in the local economy that have hindered regional development. Disasters are not natural. It is well known that the impact of natural events generally aggravated the current vulnerability of some ecosystems and sectors of society, which are linked to several negative forces, such as poor management of hydrologic basins. This is the case of the Tabasco floods in 2007. Uncontrolled land use change, forestation. This is also the Tabasco floods. Unchecked urban growth, especially in large cities. Construction in risk areas. Climate change, poverty, etc. So disasters are a function of two major factors: the risk, the natural phenomena, and vulnerability. Risk is the probability of the occurrence of a natural or anthropogenic event that may produce damage to society or vulnerability is the susceptibility of society and environment to suffer damages and their incapacity to recover. Therefore, understanding of natural-related disasters is very complex because they involve physical, socioeconomic, and management or infrastructure factors, which in many cases are difficult to monitor or to measure. We are interested in all types of hydrologic and climatic-related disasters, But in particular, we would like to promote integrative projects related to strategic disasters. Those disasters that produce the largest damage in Mexico, such as hurricanes, floods, frost, droughts, and seeking REDESClim is to bridge the gap between scientists and decision makers by better understanding the natural and social causes of disasters, and by promoting feasible solutions to reduce the risk of hydroclimatic-related disasters in Mexico. And we have several particular objectives, such as to improve seasonal prediction, increase prevention and early warning, promote continuous monitoring and detection, as well as quality control of the data, support capacity building and knowledge transfer, foster multidisciplinary and multinational collaborations, and promote public policy to reduce risk and improve adaptation strategies. To advance in these objectives, REDESClim is organized in 5 transversal thematic lines. The first line is databases and information, and the objective to create and maintain a national climatic database and to assess data and monitor quality controls, and to coordinate dissemination of climate information. This thematic line is diagnostics and process analysis, and we want to investigate physical causes of variability in weather and climate risk of short and long duration, to analyze the socioeconomic impact of disasters, and to study the vulnerability of different social and environmental factors. The third thematic line, I don't know why I cannot move. I don't know what is going on. I have a problem moving my presentation. This is broken.
Tereza, maybe you need just to exit and get back to the presentation.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of the presentation, like frozen.
All right, now you have the courses again.
I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
You have any idea?
Well, you need to exit at some point. Just tap escape, and then.
Yes, I'm putting escape, but it doesn't work.
Okay, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna get the control again and pass it to you. Okay. Now it's me. And now
it says Weber's not responding. Okay.
Okay, now it's yours again.
Okay. Which one is that? I'm trying to open it. So I was talking about the thematic lines of REDESClim,
yes.
And the third thematic line is forecast and prevention. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. The objectives of this thematic line are to evaluate the application and utility of forecast, to assess the quality and utility of early warnings during extreme events, The fourth thematic line is modeling and physical process studies to improve climate modeling at regional scale and to support studies and research on weather and climate predictability. The last thematic line was an integrative thematic line for public policy and knowledge transfer to develop information for public policy on prevention and adaptation, and to design communication strategies to reduce disaster risk and vulnerability. So the idea is, with these thematic lines and coordination with the members, is to bridge the gap between the scientific knowledge and information that is developed in academia, and to transfer that information to the ones that make decisions, such as government, stakeholders, and society. In REDESClim, we have different goals. Our first compromise with CONACYT is at 1 year. So at the end of this year, we need to integrate is the bottom of this triangle, to integrate a natural-related disaster network. CONACYT requested us to expand our current network to include geologic and biologic related disasters. So we are working on that. We are also working on national and international outreach. Last month, we launched a call for proposals to support working projects on the order of $25,000 to $30,000 per project. We are particularly interested in supporting integrative projects that include several thematic lines in REDESClim. So we will support workshops, capacity building, publications, writing of larger projects in order to advance in our objectives. We also we already have a web page that is under construction. We plan to write a book on the state of the art of what we know about natural phenomena that generate impacts and disasters in Mexico. And we also need to develop a proposal of a national strategic plan. For medium term, like 3 to 5 years, we want to advance on diagnostic, prognostic, and modeling studies, capacity building, integrative assessment studies, information transfer, promote the creation of programs associated with disasters. And in the long term, we would like to develop strategic actions for risk reduction and adaptation, and to promote public policy and information services, and to promote the development of a national for climate monitoring and diagnosis. So big ideas and good wishes. So we will see what we can do in the next few years. So this is all what I wanted to say. We invite you to visit our webpage. Here we have the list of members, their emails, and if any of you is interested in collaborating with us, you're welcome. Currently, we will support the members of REDESClim, but through the members, we can support collaboration with non-members. So we are welcome new people in our group because we want international collaborations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. That was quite interesting presentation. I'm going to pass the control to Jeremey.
Okay.
It's all you, Jeremey.
Now you want me to put the one up in Spanish, correct?
Please.
All right. My name is Jeremey. I'm with the Bureau of Reclamation, and I'm in the Denver office. I work in the Policy Administration office, and I've been working on the Desert LCC and the Southern Rockies LCC. And I'm just going to kind of give a brief overview and some of the things that the LCCs are up to, and kind of what's expected for activities. So what landscape conservation cooperatives are, they're basically management science partnerships that address climate change and other stressors across the landscape. A key role of the LCC is to facilitate development and delivery of science for landscape conservation and resource management. The LCCs bring applied science tools to resource managers to support conservation efforts. The LCCs are basically comprised of a variety of groups, different resource managers from federal agencies, others that have conservation goals and work together on shared priorities. There's 22 LCCs across the United States, and a couple of them actually go into, in this case, the Desert LCC extends into Mexico. And there's a few other LCCs that extend into Mexico as well, and then there's a few up north that extend into Canada. Recently, the Puerto Rico was added as an LCC, the 22nd LCC. What LCCs are not, they're not conservation delivery organizations. They're not replacements of existing organizations, groups, or partnerships. They're solely focused on climate change, and they're not regulatory in nature. They're meant to be complementary, and not. It's supposed to be about a partnership, not necessarily to kind of break down those jurisdictional barriers. Why address science needs on landscape scale? Well, there's a variety of things, because landscape level issues are more complex than any one entity can address alone. LCCs bring together partners with common conservation goals to identify science resources that support conservation across, the entire landscape. Some of the things that are expected or hopefully are addressed through the LCCs is climate change, things like the physical effects on the land, development. There's a lot of habitat fragmentation, how to reconnect corridors, things of that nature. Also looking into non-native species introduction. Analyze that and how climate change impacts those types of things. Now, focusing a little more on the Desert LCC, the geographic extent, you can see here that it encompasses 5 states, which are Arizona, California, New Mexico, Nevada, and Texas, and then it extends in pretty far south into Mexico, and encompasses 10 states in Mexico. Now, the LCC it was first kicked off in 2010, and there were some interim groups that helped get it together, and before a steering committee was established in April. So it was actually officially formalized in 2011. So part of the LCCs, they will identify shared conservation priorities. They'll identify, prioritize, and deliver the science needed to address these priorities, strategically address a range of threats to natural resources with emphasis on climate change. They'll conduct vulnerability assessments, and they will monitor progress towards meeting LCC goals. The LCCs have a wide variety of partners. I kind of alluded to that earlier. Some of the potential partners, and I say potential, is there's some people that are already involved currently, obviously, because the LCC is up and running, but more people are allowed to join the LCC at any point in time, and they can participate on different levels, and I can talk about that a little bit later. Some of the potential partners are federal, state, local governments, tribes, NGOs, colleges, universities, Mexican agencies and organizations, and others. So the general structure of this particular LCC is there's an LCC coordinator, which has been hired by the Bureau of Reclamation, and then there's a science coordinator, which has been hired by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And through this LCC, the Bureau of Reclamation and the Fish and Wildlife Service they're co-leading these LCCs as well as partnering in them. Each LCC, well, this LCC has a steering committee and also some working groups that are associated with that kind of work for the steering committee, kind of address some of the issues they give as far as guidance. We have an administrative working group, a science working group, a GIS data management working group, and a tribal working group. And other working groups can be developed as the LCCs expand and grow in the future, but these are some of the groups that have been kind of established. And this just kind of shows the kind of structure of the LCC. You know, just like I said, there's a steering committee which kind of leads the overall guidance and direction of the LCC. The coordinator and the science coordinator kind of take the steering committee's direction and kind of work with the working groups and other kind of staff to complete certain projects or put certain things together. Now, currently, the steering committee, this is the steering committee list, and there's 28 agencies and organizations associated with this. And like I said before, there's federal, state agencies, tribes, NGOs. And in this particular case, you can see that the Nature Conservancy Mexico is on there, and INE, Eduardo Peters, and Margarita Queso, as well as this. Obviously, this actually changes every once in a while. Others will leave, and someone else will be designated the steering committee member, depending on what that organization what's going on there. And in this particular LCC, Larry Voiles from the Arizona Game and Fish Agency is the chair of the steering committee, and Dwayne Poole from the Rocky Mountain Bird Observatory is the vice chair. And they're going to serve in these positions for at least a year to 2 years, and it kind of gets rotated from there, and we take kind of they volunteered their time to head up this particular LCC steering committee. Some of the goals of the Desert LCC, there's some goals that were established, but as they were established as the administrative working group and some of the other science working group, they worked on.
Muy bien, gracias a Dios, a sus órdenes, qué gusto.
Continue, Jeremy.
Okay.
Sí.
So we put together a governance document which kind of outlines how the LCC will operate, how long, what is the composition of the LCC steering committee, what it should be primarily made up of. We try to get higher level executives from agencies and organizations or their designated alternates. We also have an operations plan. But going back to the goals of the LCC, those are actually located in the governance document, and science development and delivery is one of them. Collaboration and communication, monitoring and evaluation, and communication and education are the 4 goals that are currently listed as the things that the LCC would like to see achieved. In the beginning of this LCC. So what types of products can the LCCs deliver? There's a variety of different things that the LCCs can work on. Initially, they're looking to deliver science-based decision support tools, vulnerability assessments, biological and geospatial databases, and others as determined by the LCC partners. So kind of going back to what I was saying is the goals, there's the governance document and the operations plan. We also have an annual work plan that kind of sets out the goals that we want to achieve over the year. And some of these things might be setting up a database where people can plug in science needs or priority science projects that they would like to see funded through the LCCs. And moving on to projects, we actually, since the LCCs were established in April 2011, the Bureau of Reclamation had funding and actually awarded 7 projects. We received 9 proposals for projects, and we awarded just a little under $1 million worth of projects, but we also require a cost share of 50-50. So the total project cost came to about $1.8 million worth of work that's currently in progress. And some of the types of projects that were funded, like I said, the decision support tools, those are the types of things. There's also a project being done for light detecting and ranging on the Rio Grande from the World Wildlife Federation, the World Wildlife Federation. And in Arizona, in the Sky Islands region, the Sky Island Alliance is going to collect new information on springs and seeps. So you can get a general idea of some of the types of projects that can be funded through the LCCs, and all of these descriptions are on the Desert LCC website, which is kind of it's located on the Bureau of Reclamation's website at this point in time. So the LCC activities for 2012, there's a variety of different things that we wanted to try to accomplish this year. The first and foremost is a comprehensive science needs assessment, which has already been underway, and it actually should be completed within the next couple weeks. So that should be posted here. It's going to be presented to the steering committee here in a couple weeks. There's a meeting coming up in Las Vegas, and we'll be presenting those needs to them. There's also a 2012 priority science projects list that has been that's currently in the process of being developed. We're trying to figure out the types of projects we can fund this year, since Reclamation has an additional $1 million this year to fund projects. There is a vulnerability assessment that's underway that is kind of the Fish and Wildlife Service is working on with, I believe, NatureServe. There's a GIS and data working group, which I mentioned earlier, but actually it finally got off the ground and running, and there's a man by the name of Tom Owens with the Geological Survey, USGS, who is heading up that group, and they're kind of establishing what they want to try and accomplish this year. There's a data portal that we're trying to get up and running, and then, like I said before, there's going to be a funding opportunity announcement that Reclamation will be posting on grants.gov this spring. Going back to this, the science needs assessment, the comprehensive science needs assessment, just to give you an idea, the scope of it was to look at the impacts and interactions of climate change, the processes and impacts across large landscapes, and ecosystems, human environment stressors, and interactions. So our science working group looked at these types of things as part of the scope, and they looked at certain topic areas such as water, wildlife population, soils, that type of thing. And then they came up with an identified process and how they were going to kind of put this assessment together. They extracted science needs from reports and workshops. They looked at literature. They combined science needs that are similar to kind of avoid duplication, and that's kind of the purpose of these LCCs is to avoid duplicating efforts. Part of the visions of the success of this science assessment is to represent the needs of managers, biologists in the Desert LCC, make science needs easy and available for access and to search, motivate collaborations among partners, and then help focus the types of information to provide. And with that, the points of contact for the Desert LCC, currently it's Avra Morgan. Well, actually, let me take that back. It's not. She was the interim coordinator up until Monday. So she has been there from the beginning. And as of Monday, Genevieve Johnson is now the Desert LCC coordinator. And I just got her email address the other day, and I just wasn't able to plug it into the presentation. And the science coordinator, well, it says it's Christina Voida, but she actually has decided to retire, and her last day is on Tuesday. So a new science coordinator will be hopefully hired shortly. With that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was very interesting. Actually, we are in a good time.
Oh, good. We have some time for questions.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Greg, and I have a question for both Jeremey and Tereza. You've both mentioned that you will have some kind of data portal or databases, and I was wondering, are those available to the general public? And also, what kind of data will you have on your data portal?
I could start. I believe our data portal is up and running, and as far as it being available to the public, I think that's the intent of it at some point in time, is to get it up in public. The science working group is currently working to, kind of work out the details, what types of information is on there, and kind of filter it. And at some point in time, I believe that should be available to the public, because that's kind of the purpose of these LCCs, is to share information, across jurisdictional boundaries and avoid duplication. I don't know if does that answer your question, Greg?
Yeah, so it's not yet available to the public.
That was one of the 2012 kind of activities that's expected. I think they're going to get more into that. The GIS and data management group will really get into that this year is what is expected.
Yeah. So I guess my request to you would be, once it's available to the public, would you be willing to write something for the newsletter?
I'm sure that our science coordinator or whoever that's going to be that's going to take over the science coordinator position in the meantime could definitely do that.
Okay.
Adrian had requested that we maybe speak with, set up a call with Genevieve, the new coordinator, and we could discuss that a little more, for sure.
Great.
Is anyone who wants to make a question to Tereza or Jeremey?
Yeah, Tereza, could you tell us more about your database with REDESClim?
Yes, in this web page, what it is open to the public, but we still do not have a database. What we have there is more information about the network, about the members, our teams, and our plans. We would like to have a database similar or even better than the one that we created for the California State Climate Action Plan. In that, in the Baja California State Action Plan, we created a climatic database for northwestern Mexico. And in that database, you can plot time series, trends, cycles, and download the data, etc. And we would like in REDESClim to extend that type of climate data for all Mexico in REDESClim. The process of getting the data and getting the money for etc.
Thank you.
I would like to see if someone in the attendees have any question. I have mine, but I'll prefer to wait. Okay, then here's my question. Jeremey, I noticed that most of the projects are more like the kind is on field work. Am I right?
I'm sorry. It's not. It's more like science information that can be used for resource managers, like on-the-ground resource managers, to inform decisions on how they make, the type of decisions. So it's not necessarily on-the-ground field work that is funded.
So in your opinion, initiatives like networks, it will fall in that field, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, as far as on the ground, there's on the ground field. If I'm getting your question correct, you're asking if eventually the LCCs may turn to on the ground field work. Is that correct?
Oh no, actually, I was thinking about this kind of binational efforts. As you see, it's a huge area, for instance, a huge area covered by the Desert LCC that reaches Mexico and gets exactly almost in the middle of the country. And I'm just thinking that it's just a perfect arena for binational collaborations that might be the appeals to the Desert LCC funds.
Oh, as far as the funding through Reclamation, we're not authorized to spend any funds over, in Mexico. However, when the information is produced, whatever that might be from, say, Sky Island Alliance or something like that, when that data is available, it could be used. The idea is that it can be used, in other areas, and not be a duplicative effort. So that might help that, that trans-border kind of thing. I don't know if that kind of helps a little bit.
Or even the matching funds approach.
Yeah, the matching funds. Yeah, it has to come from someone in the the U.S. It has to be. We're not able to fund projects in Mexico. At least at this point in time. But some of the end results can be extrapolated potentially and used for other projects in Mexico once it's completed. I think that's possible.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Sure.
Other questions? I have a couple of questions for Tereza. Tereza, you mentioned that one of the areas of work for REDESClim is biological disasters. Are those only coastal and marine, or are you also looking at land-based disasters?
Well, in the case of biologic, currently is not our more hydrometeorological and climatic.
Okay.
CONACYT asked us to include a larger network, to create a larger network, to include biologic disasters. But right now we don't have the people for that field, neither for geologic. But my guess is that if we find people interested in this type of related disasters, would be marine and continental, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you. I had one other question for you, which is, what kind of decision makers are you engaging with?
We, since we are a new network, we are contemplating to have talks. Well, we already have talked with Servicio Meteorológico Nacional. In fact, Adrián Vázquez of the National Weather Service, we invited him to be part of the external advisory committee. We need to create an external committee, and he's the first that we invited. And he's very interested in collaborating with us. But also we want these people in Protección Civil, in civil protection, and CENAPRED, the National Center for Disasters, and some institutions in Mexico who work on the social impacts. Also, we have made contact with some international institutions like Catalyst. We plan, to have other like more local decision makers. We have thought in making contact with the leaders of the state climate action plans, because they would be like the people who would be in contact with more regional scientists and also users in different sectors. So that's our plan.
That's great. Very ambitious. Good.
Well, it is ambitious, but we thinking that this, if we have the support, this can go for several. I mean, it's ambitious not for 1 year, but for several years.
Yeah. Good. Thanks.
So I think we are just in time to close the webinar. Thank you very much to both presenters. We really appreciate it, and I need to let you know that this is going to be paused at some point. We are setting YouTube website where we can put all these webinars, so it's going to be accessible to anyone, anytime. And next webinar, we are planning the next webinar with the topic of wildfires in the transported region. And we're going to keep you posted about that, and also invite you, if you have ideas about articles that we can publish in our newsletter, the Transported Climate Adaptation Without Boundaries newsletter. Please just contact us, and we will be very pleased to read your contributions and publish at some point in any of the issues. So thank you so much, and well, let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Adrian.
Gracias.